Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamana Paityam Paitikrityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munam Anatoshmi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astal Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astal Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. So continuing with our Jaiva Dharma reading, and we'll start from the beginning of the Fal Shruti today. Okay.
পৃথিবীতে যত কথা ধর্ম নামে চলে, ভাগবত করে তাহা পরিপূর্ণ চলে। ছল ধর্ম ছাড়ি করো সত্য ধর্মে মতি, চতুর্বর্গ ত্যাগী করো নিত্য প্রেমবতী। আমি তো মীমাংসা ভ্রমে নিজ জড় বুদ্ধি, নির্বিশেষ ব্রহ্ম জ্ঞানে নাহে চিত্ত শুদ্ধি। বিচিত্রতাহীন হলে নির্বিশেষ হয়, কাল সীমা তুল্য সেও অপ্রাকৃতে নয়। খণ্ড জ্ঞানে দেহ ধর্ম আছে সুনিশ্চয়, প্রাকৃত হইলে প্রভু অপ্রাকৃত নয়। জড়ে দ্বৈত জ্ঞান হেয় চিত্তে উপাদেয়, কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি চিরদিন উপায় হেয়। জীব কবু জড় নয়, হরি কবু নয়, হরি সহ জীবা চিত্ত ভেদা ভেদময়। দেহ কবু জীব নয়, ধরা ভোগ নয়, দাস ভোগ জীব কৃষ্ণ প্রভু ভোক্তা হয়। জৈব ধর্ম নাহি আছে দেহ ধর্ম কথা, নাহি আছে জীব জ্ঞানে মায়াবাদ প্রথা। জীব নিত্য ধর্ম ভক্তি তাহে জড় নাই, শুদ্ধ জীব প্রেম সেবা ফলে পায় তাই। জৈব ধর্ম পাঠে সেই শুদ্ধ ভক্তি হয়, জৈব ধর্ম না পড়িলে কবু ভক্তি নয়। রূপানুগ অভিমানে পাঠে দৃঢ় হয়, জৈব ধর্ম বিমুখে ধর্মহীন কয়। যাবৎ জীবন যেই পড়ে জৈব ধর্ম, ভক্তিমান সেই জানে বৃথা জ্ঞান কর্ম। কৃষ্ণের অমর সেবা লোভী সেই নয়, সেবা সুখে মগ্ন রহ সদা কৃষ্ণ কর।
So reading from the first verse today, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as Dharma are utterly deceptive. So last time I read the whole purport from the Bhagavatam on this verse by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, just demonstrating how in sync the Bhagavatam is with this Jaiva Dharma. It's exactly the same. This Jaiva Dharma is like the condensed Srimad Bhagavatam. You have to lift the bottom part up and then close it. Yeah. And then you have to lock the door. You have to stand up and do it. You won't be able to do it otherwise. You have to close it. So as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-2, All the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as Dharma are utterly deceptive. So I've often said this is a very bold statement. It's more or less canceling everything out in the material world as being a cheating process or deceptive and useless. That means all the different material desires that we have, all material civilization, etc., society, it's all deceptive. It's all about cheating. And in the purport that we read, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada talks a lot about competition. The false ego is in competition with other false egos. And this fighting, and this, even amongst the trees, I was commenting, and the animals, the creatures, everyone's fighting for existence. It's a struggle. So all the principles of this material life are a cheating process. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya prem. So as I've said before, this is the principle that most religious groups are engaged in. Dharma, artha, karma, moksha. That's the principle that everyone is engaged in. But actually, this is also deceptive, because what is moksha? Moksha is just like liberation from the suffering. But where is the activity of the soul's devotion to Krishna? If it's just stopping the suffering, what is that? Like banging your head on the wall, then you suddenly stop banging it. So what? Where is devotion? Where is bhakti? So bhakti is the principle. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified by such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm gyan. So trying to merge into the Brahman is not going to give us the peace of heart. It's not going to give us satisfaction by running away from life, by merging into that mukti zone. We're not going to get satisfaction. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. The Mayavadis don't have faith in Krishna, and they try to understand Krishna's creation in comparison to this material world. And I've given the example before, like the frog in the well. The frog is told about the ocean, and he says, well, is the ocean 4 times as big as my well? Is it 20 times as big as my well? 1,000 times bigger than my well? He can't go outside his limitation. So similarly, those Mayavadis, they can't break out of that material limitation and accept the achintya shakti principle of inconceivable. Yes, I don't know. It's inconceivable. We don't know the nature of eternality. Have we ever experienced anything that is eternal in this world? Anything that is eternal? Everything is going to decay. Our bodies are going to decay. The civilization is going to decay. The planet itself will eventually be annihilated when Mahavishnu breathes in again. Where do we have any experience of eternality? This is why our topic on Jiva Tattva is going to be interesting, because we have no cornerstone to appreciate the reality, actually, of our situation in truth. Therefore, we just have to accept it as achintya, inconceivable. And we have to stop trying to bang our brains to understand it, because we can't understand it. We can try and get a headache, but we won't actually understand it. For this reason, thus he rejects Sri Bhagavan's vichitrata, astonishing characteristics. That's what I just said. This astonishing. We can't accept his astonishing characteristics. Like the Mayavads, they can't accept that. This is the most beautiful thing about Krishna. His astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila are just inconceivable, beautiful. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of nirvishesh brahm. Because he can't get it, then he tries to actually destroy it in a sense. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan,
is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as apricot dham. So we have to know this distinction between the material and the spiritual. This is the first lesson in spiritual life, always. What is matter and what is spirit? What is the distinction between the two? And spirit is inconceivable, eternal. And it's filled with beauty and sweetness and love. Whereas the material is temporary, filled with suffering. Totally different. Okay, so we'll come to our new chapter today, right? Chapter 15. Prameya, Jiva Tattva. So there's 9 prameyas, 3 about Krishna, 3 about the Jiva, then Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, then Sadhan Bhakti, then Priti. These are the 9 prameyas, and there's 1 praman, and that's the Amnaya Praha, that's the Vedas. What is the evidence? So we should know these, this Dasmula in that sense. We should know 3 Krishna, 3 the Jiva, then there's like a reconciliation between the Jiva and Krishna of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Yes, I am the same, yet different from Krishna. And then there is Sadhan Bhakti, the process to attain my relationship. And then there is Priti, the fulfillment, the prayojan. That makes 9. So there's 9 prameyas. So now we're up to the 4th prameya. Jiva Tattva is the 4th prameya. There's going to be 3 prameyas about the Jiva. Jiva Tattva, Jiva bound by Maya, and Jiva liberated from Maya. These are the 3 topics about the Jiva. And if we even get a little bit to know this, we will be saved from much suffering, because we'll be able to transcend this world more easily by at least appreciating these facts. We'll know that this temporary world is temporary, that it's not my real home, it's not where I'm from. We're all foreigners in a foreign land. This is not where we're from. I'd hate to be thinking I'm from this place. I'm from the spiritual world. We all are from that spiritual place, that place of beauty and sweetness, not material. Material is temporary. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying. All these dharmas based on temporary material ideas are deceptive. So I'm reading from chapter 15. The next day, Brajanath reached Shiva Sangam earlier than on previous days. The Vaishnavas from Godrum had also come before evening to take darshan of Sandhya Arti and Sri Premdas Paramahamsa Babaji. Vaishnava Das, Advaita Das, and other Vaishnavas were already seated in the Arti Mandap. When Brajanath saw the bhavs of the Vaishnavas from Godrum, he was struck with wonder and thought, I will perfect my life by having their association as soon as possible. This is the goal of life, to have higher association. Swajatiya Snigdha Ashraya, always seeking association, always wanting that higher association, knowing humbly that I need that association to keep my focus and vision moving. If I don't have association, I will just crash, more or less, you know. I will perfect my life by having their association as soon as possible. When those Vaishnavas saw his humble and devotional disposition, all of them bestowed their blessings on Brajanath. This is the path to always be humble in the presence of Vaishnavas. And that way, you will get their mercy and blessings. If someone is in a bold kind of mood or a challenging mood, how is anyone's heart going to be attracted to that sort of a person? But if someone is very humble and always taking the dust of all the senior Vaishnavas, then naturally their heart is going to melt, and then that mercy can come. Our path is avaroha panta, descending. We can't climb up anywhere. It's all descending. So we want this mercy of the Guru Parampara. Whenever it's possible to get that connection, we should be hungry for that. When Arti was over, Brajanath and the elder Babaji began to walk southwards together in the direction of Godrum. Raghunath Das Babaji saw an incessant stream of tears flowing from Brajanath's eyes, and feeling very affectionate towards him, asked lovingly, Baba, why are you weeping? So I've explained before, when the heart is filled with devotional sentiments and love, it overflows through the eyes. A madman doesn't cry. He's got nothing in his heart, it's like empty. But someone whose heart is filled with affection and love will very easily will weep. Rajanath said, Prabhu, when I remember your sweet instructions, my heart becomes restless, and the entire world seems to be devoid of all substance. My heart is becoming eager to take shelter of Sri Gauranga Dev's lotus feet. Please be merciful to me and tell me who I really am according to Tattva, and why have I come to this world? This is what this whole chapter is going to be about. Where have I come from? Why am I here? And when this question wakes up in the jiva, why am I here? This is a place of suffering. How did I get here? This inquiry should be made by a sensitive person. We should know what is our origin. How am I here? Why am I here? So much suffering is here. Babaji, my dear son, you have blessed me by asking such a question. The day that the jiva first asks this question is the auspicious day on which his good fortune arises. Sanatana Goswami, he asked the same question to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sanatana Goswami was considered a great pundit. He was actually the prime minister of Nawab Hussain in Bengal. He had a very influential, he knew so many languages. He would conduct Bhagavatam seminars, etc. He was a great scholar, yet when he came in front of Mahaprabhu, he said, I know nothing. People say that I'm a scholar, but I don't know anything. And then he asked Mahaprabhu, Kiami, who am I? This is what he said to Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu began the whole Sanatan Shiksha, 5 chapters worth. So because of that humble mood, Mahaprabhu was ready to give him all mercy when he perceived that genuine desire, that sincere desire to understand the truth. When that genuine mood comes in the heart, that means my false conception in this world of being someone of any type of value is purified. And then the pure ego can rise and make that inquiry. If you will kindly hear the 5th shloka of Das Mula, all your doubts will be dispelled.
Sfulinga ridagner evachit anvo jiva nichaya hare surasyaiva prithak api tu tadbhed vishaya vashe maya yasya prakriti patir evashvar iha sajivo muktopi prakriti vasha yogyah swagunatah. Dashamula 5.
So the Das Mula 5. Just as many tiny sparks burst from a blazing fire, so the innumerable jivas are like atomic spiritual particles in the rays of the spiritual sun of Sri Hari. This is actually a big part of the answer. We are, this description, we are atomic. How big are we really, our spirit? 1/10,000th the size, the tip of a hair. 1/10,000th size, the tip of a hair. How big is that? It practically doesn't exist, but it does exist because it can be described in that way. It's a particle, and that's how big I really am. That's my identity before I have a spiritual body. That's the nature. And it's described as atomic and a spiritual particle in the rays of the spiritual sun, Sri Hari. Who is that Sri Hari? The jiva. This is going to be talking about the jivas in this world. So when the rays emanate from Mahavishnu and he's glancing towards Maya, this is when the jivas emanate from the glance that Mahavishnu is giving to Maya Devi. And then Shambhu, he carries that glance into the womb of his wife, Durga Ma, and then that's called the Udara Shakti. That's like the womb. And then the three modes of material nature begin to be agitated, because in that glance, what is in that glance? Do you remember?
Jiva and Kal.
Yes, Jiva and time. So the Jiva, it's called the Hiranyagarbha. It's the aggregate of all Jivas. It's like one Jiva in a sense, but it's all Jivas. It's the prototype, we say in English, of all Jivas. So that Jiva and time are impregnate, because when time is not there, that's the spiritual world. But time has been put into this material world. That's why we can't fully ever understand these topics, because we can't break out of the conception of time until we are fully spiritually realized. Though these jivas are non-different from Hari, they are eternally different from him. So this is the Achintya Veda Veda. Sat Chit Ananda is within us and within Krishna. We are tiny atomic, and Krishna is Vibhuchit, all pervasive. The eternal difference between the Jiva and Ishvara is that Ishvara is the Lord and master of Maya Shakti, whereas the Jiva can fall under the control of Maya even in his liberated stage due to his constitutional nature. We have the example from Bhagavatam of Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was in a stage of bhav, and yet he fell subject to his compassionate feeling towards a little deer. So he fell from, and then had to take 3 more births afterwards, the deer and then Jad Bharat, etc. So it can happen even on a high stage of bhav. Somebody can actually fall down, be attracted again, because we are marginal. Tatashta Shakti. So now we'll read. Brajanath, this is an exceptional Siddhanta, and I would like to hear some Vedic evidence to support it. Sri Bhagavan's statements are certainly Veda, but still people will be bound to accept the teachings of Mahaprabhu if the Upanishads can substantiate this principle. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making Brajanath say like this to give us full praman, because without the praman, it's just like a speculative idea. And Brajanath is going to give various ideas that other Mayavads have given to him, which proves that the conceptions without solid tattva are useless. This is what he's going to give in the next few lines. Babaji, this tattva is described in many places in the Vedas. I will cite a few of them.
Yathagnik Shudra Vishfulinga Vyucharanti Evam Evasmad Atmanah Sarvani Bhutani Vyucharanti Brihad Aranyak Upanishad 2.1.20.
Innumerable jivas emanate from Para Brahm, just like tiny sparks from a fire. Tiny sparks from a fire is a very good example, because one of those sparks can start a whole fire that could incinerate the whole world. So each jiva has the potency to actually liberate the whole world from their conditioned nature. We see the example of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He went all around the planet, getting so many people in touch with the Supreme Reality. One jiva can have that much power because he has the same qualities as Krishna. Just like the spark from the fire, it has the same qualities as the fire, except it's very small. So the analogy is really clear. It's really a good analogy.
Tasya va etasya purushasya dve eva sthane bhavat idancha paraloka sthanancha sandhyam tritiyam swapna sthanam tasmin sandhya sthane tishthan ete ubhe स्थाने पश्यतीदांच परलोकस्थानांच बृहद Aranyakya Upanishad 4.3.9.
There are two positions about which the Jiva Purush should inquire: the inanimate material world and the spiritual world. Inanimate means without potency, dull. The Jiva is situated in a third position, which is a dreamlike condition, swapnastan, and is the junction tatashta between the other two. Being situated at the place where the two worlds meet, he sees both the Jad Jagat, inert world, and the Chit Jagat, spiritual world. This is our condition. We've manifested with the consciousness of tatashta. We are made of this tatashta energy. There's no geographical location for the tatashta shakti. It's a state of consciousness. You can't look on a map and say, well, where is tatashta? It's a state of consciousness. So we all have that ability to come under the control of Maya or to serve Yogamaya and serve the Supreme Lord, serve Krishna. We all have that dualistic tendency. That's our nature. We're manifested with that. There's three types of jiva we're going to discuss in the 16th chapter. The first type is manifested from Baladev Prabhu to serve Radha Binod Bihari in Goloka Vrindavan. And the second type is manifested from Sankarshan Prabhu to serve Lord Narayan in the spiritual Vaikunthas. These are completely spiritual places. And the third type of jiva is us. We are manifested from this Tatashta Shakti. And we're emanating from the glance of Mahavishnu into this world. So that's a lot of the questions he's already answered, that Brajanath was asking. Who am I and where am I from? I am made of this Tatashta Shakti, and I've manifested from the glance of Mahavishnu. So there's two answers, but we don't understand that with our conditioned mind, so we have to just accept that. And if we think about these topics over the years, and while we're chanting, we can think about these topics, then some mercy will come to appreciate these topics more deeply. Being situated at the place where the two worlds meet, he sees both the Jad Jagat and the Chid Jagat, the spiritual world. This shloka describes the marginal nature of Jiva Shakti. Again, it is stated in the Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 4.3.18.
Tadyatha Mahamatsya Ubhe Kule Nusyan Charati Purvan Chaparan Chaivam Evayam Purush Etav Ubhav Antav Anusancharati Swapnantancha Buddhantancha.
Just as a large fish in a river sometimes goes to the eastern bank and sometimes to the western bank, the jiva being situated in Karana Jal, the water of cause that lies between the inert and the conscious worlds, also gradually wanders to both banks, the place of dreaming and the place of wakefulness. So these are two states of consciousness. The jiva is conscious, even though he's tiny, 10,000th the size, the tip of a hair, but still he has consciousness. Consciousness is the symptom of the jiva. If you have a dead body, what's missing from it? It's consciousness. The live body has consciousness. The dead body has no consciousness. So this consciousness is the symptom of the soul present in the body. Brajanath, what is the Vedantic meaning of the word tatashta? It's very important. We have to understand what is this, how can we see it, how can we picture it, how can we draw it? Babaji, the space between the ocean and the land is called tata. It's very interesting for us to be sitting here beside the beach. We see how the water comes up and the water goes down. So where is the exact division mark between It's always moving. This is what it's going to be saying. The space between the ocean and the land is called tata, shore. But the place that touches the ocean is actually nothing but land. So where is the shore? Where is the shore when the waves keep coming in? Where will you say, oh, this is the shore? Because it's changing all the time. It's always moving. It's in the middle. It's tatashta. Just like we are in the middle of the ability to think of spiritual topics all the time and to think of material topics all the time. We become covered by our... It's not Krishna who's covering us. It's our decision to be covered that is covering us. Don't ever think that Maya is covering you independently. We desire the attractive feature of Maya, and then she covers us. Maya will hold the ice cream in front. Yes, I want that. That isn't... Maya didn't say you've got to have it. She's just showing it to you. But we are the ones who make the decision to actually come under her spell. It's always us. We always have this control. This is what we often neglect because we feel so much kicked around by the material energy, by the three modes of material nature, especially in this age of Kali, especially with poor food, poor water, poor pollutants in the air, etc., noise, vibration. So many negative things are around us, pushing the consciousness all over the place. So we think it's not my fault, but it is. At some point, we have to take that responsibility to say, yes, I want only the spiritual realm. I want only that spiritual place. I don't want this. I understand this material world is temporary. That's what all this tattva is about. It's to bring us to that point of disgust with the material world, but more than that, to bring us to a point of attraction to the spiritual world. If we don't have attraction to the spiritual world, then we could go into the mukti place and just want liberation. So simultaneously, the Vrindavan Dham, Navadvip Dham, all these beautiful pastimes have to be given to us to hear at the same time, to develop that attraction. The tata is the line of distinction separating the ocean and the land. And it is so fine that it cannot be seen with the gross eyes. You can't see the exact place where the ocean and the land finish, can you? Because it's always being covered by the waves. You can't say, well, this is the line. Next minute, the waves are covering it. Or this is the line. This is the nature of this tatashta. It's so fine, it's so subtle. One minute when we're having kirtan, we're feeling completely in the embrace of Krishna and Jagannath. Next minute, we're hungry, it's raining, we're cold, some problem, some difficulty. I become impatient or angry. Immediately, my emotions come lower, and I'm covered again by the material energy. Just in a second, isn't it? So quick. It's so subtle. We have to get to know our own consciousnesses. We have to get to know when is Maya Devi showing me her attractive form. And when can I say, no, I don't want that. It's no good for my bhakti. This is why we have to know bhakti tattva. What is bhakti? Anyabilasata shunyam. Bhakti Uttama. This is Bhakti Uttama. This is pure bhakti. When that anukulyena krishnano, what is favorable for Krishna's service, rises in the heart. This is pure bhakti. So I must know fully in my life what that is. Yesterday we were talking at the end of that last chapter, how Brajanath is suddenly confronted with marriage. Remember? And the word I was looking for, I should have described that as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is harmonizing. He's harmonizing this material world with our spiritual development. The two have to go side by side, not just one or the other. Otherwise you become fanatic and you miss out the holistic aspect. Understand? We should be fanatic to some degree, but there has to be some balance. Always it's balance in our lives. If we compare the transcendental realm to the ocean and the material world to the land, then Tata is the subtle line that divides the two, and the Jiva Shakti is situated at the place where the two meet. How amazing. There's the spiritual world on one side, and there's the material world on the other side, and that very fine line down the middle, that's what I'm made of. That's where I'm situated. Why did Krishna do that? That'll be described in the 16th chapter. Very clearly why Krishna did that. It's a very wonderful explanation. Jiva Tattva is a fascinating topic because it's about us. So we're always fascinated about things about us, but even more so in relationship to Krishna. Then it becomes even more fascinating. How can I manifest my relationship with Krishna ultimately? And the Jiva Shakti is situated at the place where the two meet. The Jivas are like the countless atomic particles of light within the sun rays. You sometimes see the sun come through a window and you see millions of little like dust particles there. So that's like the Jivas. The Jivas are like those particles of light in the rays of light. That's what we look like. That's where we've come from, the glance of Mahavishnu. Being situated in the middle place, the Jivas see the spiritual world on one side and the material universe created by Maya on the other. Just as Bhagavan's spiritual Shakti on one side is unlimited, Maya Shakti on the other side is also very powerful. She's not unlimited, but she's very powerful. The innumerable subtle, Shukshma, Jivas are situated between these two. The Jivas are marginal by nature because they have manifested from Krishna's Tatastha Shakti, marginal potency. This is where we're coming from. Krishna has arranged this situation to actually make the Jiva very, very strong. Because eventually the Jiva knows he has to come to Krishna. He knows there is no other choice. The only other choice is to go into the material consciousness, and that hurts. That's hellish. And we just get fried with it. When you're fried enough with it, then you'll drop it completely and never go back there. But you have to be really fried enough with it. Sometimes when we're very sick, actually sometimes it really can focus our minds, especially at the time of death when the body starts to crumble. Then many times people really inquire about these topics because the suffering is so intense. But we don't have to wait until that point. It's like in the Bhagavatam, we have Parikshit Maharaj. He had 7 days left. So he knew when his time was going to come. So there was an urgency to his inquiry. But we don't know when our days are going to come. They can come at any time. That's what we have to really appreciate. It's not that I'm young now and therefore automatically have another 50, 60 years. Not necessarily. Being situated in the middle place, the Jivas see the spiritual... Oh, I just read all that. Okay. Brajanath, what is Tatashta Svabhav? Marginal nature. So this is what I'm made of. Babaji, it is the nature that enables one to be situated between both worlds and to see both sides. Understand the spiritual personalities in the spiritual world, they don't have this Tatashta nature. They only see one side. They don't even know a marginal nature exists. They only see that love. When we realize our full spiritual nature, form, we also will just forget about that marginal conception. It'll just disappear. It is the nature that enables one to be situated between both worlds and to see both sides. Tatashta Svabhav is the eligibility to come under the control of either of the Shaktis. That's the Chit Shakti or Maya Shakti. Sometimes the shore is submerged in the river because of erosion, and then again it becomes one with the land because of the river changes its course. If the jiva looks in the direction of Krishna, that is, towards the spiritual world, he is influenced by Krishna's Shakti. He then enters the spiritual world and serves Bhagavan in his pure, conscious, spiritual form. However, if he looks towards Maya, he becomes opposed to Krishna and is incarcerated by Maya. This dual-faceted nature is called Tatashta Swabhav, marginal nature. Understand? Such a clear description. Remember where it is in Jaiva Dharma, in this 5th chapter, 15th. Because if in the future, after 5-7 years, you want to have a clear understanding again of what is Tatashta, you can just read this. It's very significant. Prachanath, now this is an important question. Is there any material component in the jiva's original constitution? Is there anything that's material in me by my constitution? And what is Babaji's answer? No. The jiva is created solely from the Chit Shakti. This is actually what I am. I'm not this Tatashta Shakti covered by Maya. That's not my real nature. My real nature is just this Chit. It's much, much stronger than the lower nature. Once we get on the track, so to speak, of the spiritual nature, it's like a rocket. There is no Mayic impediment. There's no obstruction. It just goes very strongly. There's no break in it. No, the jiva is created solely from the Chit Shakti. He can be defeated, that is covered by Maya, because he is minute by nature and lacks spiritual power. But there is not even a scent of Maya in the jiva's existence. Not even a smell of Maya in my actual essential nature. It's only this is what I said to you, it's only my choice that I become attracted to Maya because I'm fully a spiritual being. I am fully a spiritual being, but I've been pounded by Maya for so long. I've been pounded by my attraction to Maya. So everything begins from detachment, from this material enjoying nature. Why do we want to enjoy materially? Because I can't enjoy spiritually. I haven't risen that spiritual pleasure sufficiently. So I think, because by nature we are enjoyers, Ananda Vyasat, it's our nature to enjoy. And if I'm not enjoying the spiritual kirtan, I have to look into the Mayic world to try and find some pleasure there. Understand the science of it. It's like a science that we're presenting, you know? It's like A, B, C. It's like a science. It's showing us clearly our predicament, where we are. This is called tattva. You all understand it? Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. Rajanath. Now we're going to get some Mayavad conceptions thrown in here. I have heard from my teacher that when a fraction of the conscious Brahm is covered by Maya. So now what is Brahm? Brahm is the effulgence of Krishna. Brahm is that place, that neutral zone where those muktivads want to merge into. Brahm is not our home. We haven't come from that place. We've come from a similar conception to that Brahm, which is Shantaras, or neutrality, but it's not our home. So he's saying that I have heard from my teacher that when a fraction of the conscious Brahm is covered by Maya, it becomes the jiva. He explained the sky to be always the indivisible Maha Akash. But when a part of it is enclosed in a pot, it becomes Gata Akash. This is like Nyaya Shastra. If you have a pot, there's a reflection in the top of the pot, right? Of the sun, for example. So it's saying that that's a portion of Brahm, and this is the Jiva. Similarly, the Jiva is originally Brahm, but when that Brahm is covered by Maya, the false ego of being a Jiva develops. Is this conception correct? So this is the Mayavad conception that Babaji is going to purify. This doctrine is only Mayavad. How can Maya touch Brahm? Brahm is from Krishna's effulgence. How can Maya Devi touch it? Maya Devi is only attracting us. She's not actually touching the pure conscious Jiva. She can't touch us, but she can attract us and cover us and throw us into this material world. The Mayavadis propose that Brahm has no Shakti, Lupta Shakti. So how can Maya, which is a Shakti, possibly approach Brahm? If Shakti is supposed to be non-existence, Shakti is supposed to be non-existent in Brahm. So how can Maya Shakti approach it? Maya Shakti is not there, because the proposition was that Maya Shakti has covered a portion of Brahm. So Babaji is saying, but you're saying that Brahm has no Shakti. This is what the Mayavads say. So how can that Shakti of Maya cover a portion of Brahm? Can't. The conclusion is that Maya cannot possibly cover Brahm and cause such a miserable condition. Conversely, if we accept the transcendental Shakti, Parashakti of Brahm, how can Maya, which is an insignificant Shakti, defeat the Chit Shakti and create the Jiva from Brahm? Okay? Got it? Besides, Brahm is indivisible. So how can such a Brahm be divided? You can't divide Krishna's effulgence into particles. It's just a light that emanates from his body. So how can you take a part of that and say it's going to be covered by a Shakti? Actually, the whole proposition is just ludicrous, really. Babaji is bringing that out. Mayavad philosophy is ludicrous in the sense that it has no real base to it, or no logic, no praman. There's no praman for what he's saying. The idea that Maya can act upon Brahm is not acceptable. Maya plays no role in the creation of the jivas. Admittedly, the jiva is only atomic, but even so, he is still superior to the tattva of Maya. Isn't this encouraging to know? That we are superior to Maya. We should take encouragement from that. Not be thinking that, oh yes, Maya is kicking me around all over the place. I have a choice every time. Will I stand up to it or not? Will I find my own Shakti, my own strength? That Antaranga Shakti, that pure spirit soul, that Bal Shakti. What is the Bal Shakti? Bal Shakti means you start to get instructions about this. When you start to get, then some power will come to your soul to not be so attracted to Maya. It's not going to happen in a minute. It's not going to happen in a year or two, perhaps, you know. But still, we should know what is the situation. Even if we can't realize this, we should know what it is anyway. It should be there for our understanding. We shouldn't be in ignorance. Once, another teacher said that the jiva is nothing but a reflection of Brahm. The sun is reflected in water, and similarly, Brahm becomes jiva when it is reflected in Maya. Is this conception correct? Again, this sounds, you know. Babaji, again, this is simply another example of Mayavad philosophy. Because what is the defect with the Mayavads? They're not in this avaroha panta. They're not in this descending knowledge. They're trying to make up their own ideas to fit their own perception. It's not coming in any sampradaya or parampara. If we have this sampradaya, this parampara, then it's coming very strong. And we don't have any of these kind of questions. We just listen to what Rupa Goswami says, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what our acharyas say. And then it's very, very simple. Brahm has no limits, and a limitless entity can never be reflected. The idea of limiting Brahm is opposed to the conclusion of the Vedas. So this theory of reflection is to be rejected. You can't limit Brahm. Brahm is unlimited. Brajanath, a Digvijay sannyasi once told me that in reality there is no substance known as Jiva. One only thinks of himself as a Jiva because of illusion. And when the illusion is removed, there is only one indivisible Brahm. Is this correct? In other words, we all merge into that Brahm. Babaji, this is also Mayavad doctrine, which has no foundation at all. According to Shastra, Ekam Evatityam, there is nothing apart from Brahm. If there is nothing except Brahm, where has the illusion come from? And who is supposed to be illusioned? Babaji is using perfect logic to defeat these conceptions. If there's nothing in Brahm, then where does the illusion come from? How can illusion manifest? And who is supposed to be an illusion? How can you be there if nothing is coming from Brahm? If you say that Brahm is an illusion, you are saying that Brahm is not actually Brahm. Rather, it is insignificant. And if you propose that illusion is a separate and independent element, you negate the undivided oneness, Advaya Gyan, of Brahm. Okay. It's good just to hear these, if we understand them or not understand them. I don't understand them all completely, but I'm hearing them. So something is going in. I'm getting an idea of the objections to the Supreme Truth. And it doesn't seem to be very strong, these objections, because they're based on illusion.
What is Advaya?
That oneness, Advaya, not two. Dvaya is two. Advaya rather is two, Gyan. That means Krishna and the Jiva. Advaya Gyan.
It's like Dvait and Advait.
Dvait and Advait.
Advait.
It's like that, yes.
So
Advaya.
Dvait is two.
Dvait is two, Advait is one. Yes.
So Advait Gyan is again one.
Yes, one. Yeah, I didn't say that right. Yeah, oneness. It's talking about the undivided oneness, Advaya Gyan of Brahm. He's only one, so he can't be divided. That's what it means, Advaya Gyan. It's like that shloka, Vedanti Tattva Virastatvam, Gyanam Advayam, Brahmati Paramatmati Bhagavan Itcha. This is only one truth, but it's divided into three. It's Advaya Gyan, but it's divided into three. Once an influential Brahmana Pandit arrived in Navadvip, and in the conference of intellectuals, he established that only the Jiva exists. His theory was that this Jiva creates everything in his dreams, and it is because of this that he accepts happiness and suffers distress. Then when the dream breaks, he sees that there is nothing but Brahm. So what extent of this idea is correct? Babaji, this is again Mayavad. If, as they say, Brahm is undifferentiated, that means one, how can it be possible to produce the Jiva in his dreaming state? Mayavad used examples such as the illusion of seeing mother of pearl in an oyster shell as gold, and the illusion of seeing a rope as a snake. But their philosophy cannot provide a consistent basis for Advaya Gyan. We call it Advaya Gyan Paratattva. That Advaya Gyan Paratattva, that ultimate oneness of Krishna with the Jiva in service to him. That is the oneness of the Jiva and Krishna. That is the oneness there. Rajanath. So Maya has nothing whatever to do with creating the Swarup of the Jivas. This has to be accepted. At the same time, I have also clearly understood that the jiva is by nature subject to the influence of Maya. Now I want to know, did the Chit Shakti create the jivas and give them their tatastha swabhav, marginal nature? Very important question. Is this coming from the Chit Shakti? Babaji, no. The Chit Shakti is Paripurna Shakti, the complete potency of Krishna, and its manifestations are all eternally perfect substances. The jiva is not Nitya Siddha, although when he performs sadhana, he can become sadhana siddha and enjoy transcendental happiness like the Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect beings. All the 4 types of Srimati Radhika's Sakhis are Nitya Siddha, and they are direct expansions, Kaya Vyuha, of the Chit Shakti. So they are from the Chit Shakti, but the jiva is not from that. Srimati Radhika herself, all the jivas, on the other hand, have manifested from Sri Krishna's Jiva Shakti. This is where they've manifested from. The Chit Shakti is Sri Krishna's complete Shakti, whereas the Jiva Shakti is his incomplete Shakti. Just as the complete tattvas are all transformations of the complete potency, similarly, innumerable atomic conscious jivas are manifestations of the incomplete Shakti. So we are manifestations of the incomplete Shakti because we don't have that Bal Shakti developed sufficiently. When we become sadhana siddha and then nitya siddha by association with the nitya siddhas in some future time, then we can come close to that perfection in our seva. But up until that point, we are just tatashta jiva shakti. We're influenced by the marginal energy, by Maya Devi. Not influenced by Maya, we're influenced by Maya Devi.
So can we say that the 50 qualities or characteristics of Krishna which are there in the Jiva, because of that we are, incomplete because he's having full 64 qualities.
64.
And we are having only 50. And because of that, but only we can, with our own sadhan, we can increase the
percentage in it.
Can it be called like that?
That's interesting, yes. We can think like that. That's not wrong.
By our sadhan, can we increase that? Because Jiva has that much of amount of Shakti, and the Bhagavan is like not the demigods have some amount of Shakti, and Krishna.
Yes, we can increase that, but not to beyond that 50.
Yeah.
Because we're not, those other qualities are omniscience, etc. We don't have those qualities.
Yes.
Those qualities are endowed separately. This is what it's saying about Radhika's Kaya Vyuha. They're coming directly from the Chit Shakti. We're not coming from that Chit Shakti. We're coming from the Jiva Shakti. So these qualities can be increased in percentage-wise. Yes.
So then the Vrajvasis, right? They're coming from the Chit Shakti. The Vrajvasis.
Coming from the Chit Shakti, yes, from Baladev,
so then
actually.
How can the qualities, the 64 qualities, right? The Vrajvasis can never have the Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, right?
No.
So then what? I didn't understand the question.
The qualities that the Brijvasis have are all the qualities of those 50 qualities and the 55 qualities to the full degree. They're Nitya Siddha Parikars. And they think that they are the same as Krishna, but they don't have those 4 special qualities that Krishna has.
Yes.
But all the other 60 qualities they do have. The Brijavasis, those cowherd boys, actually, when Krishna manifests those cowherd boys from his own form in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, they all take on Vishnu forms. They're all non-different from Vishnu. So, and then when he draws them back into his body again, still those cowherd boys and so on, they are as strong, practically speaking, as Krishna. Like when Krishna kills Kamsa, they were thinking, well, we could have killed him anyway. no problem. You know, they don't think that that was such a big deal. They think that they have the same, and they do have the same. And Sri Radhika definitely has the same. Sri Radhika can, you know, manifest all of these things, but they don't.
Incomplete in the sense like because Jiva is Anuchit, that's why. Because he has like quantities like so much less.
We're talking on different levels in a sense, because we're talking about the Jiva Tattvas in this world, and we're talking about the Nitya Siddha Jivas in the spiritual
No,
world.
no, I'm just saying about that line that what Rasmanjali detailed, or Jiva Shakti is his incomplete Shakti.
Yeah.
In that sense, because like Jiva is Anuchit.
Yes, yes, yes. The Jiva is always Anuchit. It's correct what you're saying. I think this will be answered as we read a little bit more.
Yes. Time is up.
Oh, but I didn't. I have to finish this paragraph anyway. All the Jivas, on the other hand, have manifested from Sri Krishna's Jiva Shakti. The Chit Shakti is Sri Krishna's complete Shakti, whereas the Jiva Shakti is incomplete Shakti. Just as the complete Tattvas are all transformations of the complete potency. Similarly, innumerable atomic conscious Jivas are transformations of the incomplete Shakti. It's all coming from Jiva Shakti. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And it's quite a intense subject matter. So we need Krishna's mercy to appreciate it more deeply. But at least we have begun the process to hear the language, to hear the conceptions, to appreciate how Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining it. And when the mercy comes, to appreciate it more significantly. The principle of our bhakti is to develop devotion towards Krishna. And these tattvas and truths can help us appreciate the amazing nature of Krishna. It's beyond what we're thinking normally in this world. So this is really the truth of Krishna consciousness. It's beyond this world. So these topics are taking us beyond this world. We said this yesterday. But we can't logically, rationally understand these things because they are all inconceivable. I mean, to think how Krishna manifested his Jiva Shakti, how did that happen? Did he give birth to it or something? What? It's just like all these things are happening. And the nature of the Jiva Shakti, the nature of Chit Shakti, how is these natures happening? We can't understand it, you know? But again, we can appreciate it. And it can indicate to us the extraordinary, astonishing supremacy of the Lord. That's a great plus for our bhakti, for our devotion, when we're understanding that Krishna is in control, not us. Actually here, Lord Jagannath is in control. So it's very easy for us to think of this because the mighty Jagannath is got his hands, eyes everywhere, really. Okay, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Vansha Kalpa Trubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhevascha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnava